For the look at the Wear-Tyne Derby, let's give you some more details on this rivalry. So the first time that these two teams met was in 1883, but the first competitive match was in 1888, and that saw Sunderland take the 2-0 victory in the FA Cup. Now, these two have been just 12 miles apart since the Stadium of Light opened in 1997, and Newcastle just barely leads the head-to-head with an all-time record of 54 wins, 50 draws, and 52 losses. The last Premier League meeting between the two was a 1-1 draw at St. James's Park back in March of 2016. So this is the first time in nearly 10 years that we'll get to see Sunderland and Newcastle go head-to-head in the Premier League. Fans have been waiting for this since Sunderland booked their return to the Prem back in May. So in just 2 days' time, we'll see them go head-to-head 9 a.m. Eastern on Sunday. Now, Geoff, these two teams, they did meet in January of 2024 in FA Cup, so we have gotten to see them since, but it's a bit different when we get to see this derby in Premier League.
I'll tell you what explains this rivalry more than any other. You would have thought that the majority of Newcastle United fans were desperate for Sunderland to lose in the playoff final in the Championship against Sheffield United. No. Although they absolutely despise them, many of them were delighted because it means the derby is back. The North East, there will be a frenzy around this fixture in the week building up to it, on the eve of the game, the press conferences today, the local paper will do a 28-page pull-out. It is so intense, this derby. It's a massive game.
I'm already seeing news reports about how the trains are going to run and making different travel plans. I mean, is this really when this is like the matchup where things kind of start to like shut down, or the travel plans are a bit different in England? I mean, what is the city like? What is it like in England when these two teams play?
There's just there's an edge, there's an atmosphere that you can feel it, and it is not a friendly rivalry by any stretch of the imagination. And you can just say it's electric. The noise right before kickoff. I mean, Sunderland have some of the best walkout music anyway, and that will own it. It will be an absolute bear pit.
And this is now the Wear-Tyne because Sunderland is home?
So they're about 7 miles apart. So it's the River Wear and the River Tyne. And when the game is played at St James's Park, it's the Tyne-Wear derby. So it's correct that this is the Wear-Tyne derby. It flip-flops. But these two, I expect to see fireworks. Now, I'm not normally a big stats guy, but as we all know, in a derby, form goes right out of the window. It's completely irrelevant in a derby because anything can happen. But just check this. Bear in mind what's happening in the game. No team has won more points from a losing position than Sunderland, 12. No team has lost more from a winning position than Newcastle, 11. So add that into a derby day, we could get... I think we'll get glorious chaos. And if I think back to this fixture, I think one of the most iconic moments was when Ruud Gullit was in charge, his ill-fated spell at Newcastle United, 1999, and he left out the legend that is Alan Shearer and Duncan Ferguson. Look at Shearer's face. Literally, that face says, "Go on then."
Have at it. Have at it.
Yeah, go on. See how you go. That's a very bad Geordie accent, I accept. And of course, they lost the game, and that was pretty much the end of Ruud Gullit.
Yeah.
Look at him. He's chewing a wasp there, isn't he? He's a proud Geordie. He loves that club to its bones. So that would have hurt him big style. But honestly, I'm not from that part of the world. I can't wait for this game.
It's exciting. You're talking about the form of these two teams. For Newcastle, right now, 4 unbeaten for them. They sit 12th right now in the standings in both the Prem and in Champions League right now. But heading into that game where they drew to Bayer Leverkusen, they had the win in the bag, and then Newcastle gave up a late goal. Now, Eddie Howe was questioned about the lineup that he put in this game, especially knowing that Sunderland was coming up this weekend. Yeah. But do you think that he got it right in that match?
I think he got it wrong, especially in midfield. You know, the addition of Joel Linton, it wasn't the game for him, and he got exposed in that. Lewis Miley has been playing out of his mind, and we've been talking about his name for the last month or so because he's getting goals. He got a goal against Bayer Leverkusen. This is the match for this midfield three, and let's not mince words. This game is going to be win or loss in the midfield. The most important player in the middle of the park is Bruno Guimaraes. This is a game that was tailor-made for Guimaraes. And you were talking about, on the opposite side, Geoff, Granit Xhaka and how important he will be for Sunderland. But for Newcastle, that balance in midfield is the source of life and the wellspring of life that gets the back line going. And the back line and just that space between that back four and Sandro Tonali, that is where Bayer Leverkusen exposed them late on and got their goals.
Who has the better midfield for your money?
For me, on paper, Newcastle.
Yeah.
On paper, Newcastle. The only player that can get into this Newcastle team is Granit Xhaka from Sunderland, from that midfield. You put Granit Xhaka in, you put Sandro Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes, that is arguably one of the top midfields in the Premier League. If you put an all-22 or a starting 11 based on this derby.
Sunderland, though, like Arsenal, only team unbeaten at home this season.
Régis Lebris done a great job. We covered him here. We covered him here last year. And remember, at the end of the season, I don't know if it was a 5 or 6 game stretch, they didn't win in the last 5 games of the season going into the playoffs. So you talk about form. They threw form out the window when they got to the playoffs, right? He was out the door almost before the playoffs got there.
But it was a bizarre end to the season because there was the runaway leaders, because you had Leeds, and Burnley. They're running away. Yeah, it was Leeds and Burnley, wasn't it? Run 100 points or whatever they were. Sunderland knew they were in the playoffs with about 8 games to go. So they just they relaxed. It was strange. But then they picked up, do you remember, in the semi-final playoffs, the wins against Coventry galvanised them, then that famous day at Wembley. But all of that effort, this is what they've been working towards. This is a cup final for them. This is a cup final. And Tony's right. Régis Lebris has done an amazing job. And he was a little bit like, when he arrived, a lot of the Sunderland fans were, who? What? Who is this guy? They were a bit underwhelmed. But now, trust me, his status is already assured on We're Side forever. If he can get some victories, or a victory over Newcastle United, well,
so you're talking about how they did struggle at the end of last season. Right now, they're currently struggling with mixed results. Do you think that the struggling side that we're seeing right now is the true version of them, or are they just going through something in this moment?
Well, they're in the games, right? You got Fulham. The loss that was 1-0, right, at Fulham. Difficult place to play. They go and beat Bournemouth 3-2, a Bournemouth side that's been tricky for teams to play against this year. Liverpool 1-1, and then City beat them 3-0. Are we surprised that City would pull off a game like this against us? No.
And they drew with Arsenal.
Yeah. That's right, the 2-2 with Arsenal before all of that. So I suppose mixed if you're just looking at scores. You're getting a draw, you're getting a loss, you're getting a win. But when you're talking about Sunderland, it's a promoted side. And I'm going to guess that some people... Now, this is a completely changed side. I think only 2 normal starters are guys that were there last year. But they didn't go out and spend like we've seen some teams spend in the past. But I would imagine when people were doing their preseason predictions, and, we always do the top 4 and you do the teams that are relegated, there are some people that pick Sunderland to get relegated again. So what they're doing this year is incredible, and this weekend would make almost their promotion just worth it if they got a result this weekend.
Any Sunderland fan would snatch your hand off for survival this season. If you said to them top 10, they're in heaven.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's bring another voice into the conversation. Our guy, Jon Buckets Eimer. Where is he?
My best bet for the Sunderland versus Newcastle game to start. A reminder of what Geoff said. This is a derby, so you got to be careful. You got to bet responsibly, because I do, in fact, think that we see some glorious chaos here. Sunderland are undefeated at home. I'm holding on to that Sunderland to finish the top 10 ticket, so I would love it if they win this game a respectful 7-0, 6-0 maybe. But what I think is more realistic is going to happen is we're going to see a high-scoring draw here. Sunderland defensively are struggling right now. They've now conceded in their last 7 matches straight, while Newcastle is in scorching goal-scoring form. They have the second highest over 2.5 goal hit rate in the entire Premier League right now, and they've now hit both teams to score and over 2.5 goals in 7 matches straight across all competitions. I do not know who's going to win this matchup, but guys, I love over 2.5 goals at -115 here, because both teams have shown they're capable of scoring, and that way I don't have to sweat out a winner either.